talk about it. Real truth and power. Health. Wealth. Knowledge of self. Uplifting the community. Let's talk about it.
You are now tuned in to Real Truth and Power, the show that uplifts the community with health, wealth, and knowledge of self. Here's your host, Everett Winchester.
Peace and blessings, Mr. Fielder. How you doing today, sir?
Peace and blessings to you, my brother.
All right, you froze up there, but I got you. I got you. First of all, please introduce yourself to the people. Give them a brief description of your background before we get into your book.
Okay, thank you. My name is Gregory Fielder. I was born in South Carolina, Lawrence, South Carolina, and I lived here all my life with the exception of time I went into the military. I'm a student of history. I've done extensive research all the way back to Africa on my father's side, and as well as on my mother's side. I used to operate a barber college and several other businesses because I believe that when God gives you gifts, they should be utilized. And overall, that's the basis of who I am.
Okay, now let's get into it about your book, Greg Fielder. I am a convict. I surrender all to the Creator. So first of all, I assume you were a former convict. Can you go into your book, but talk about that first? How you became a convict? You know what led you to it, and how you overcame it.
Well, the word convict has a twofold meaning. There are people that have been incarcerated, which that term convict is used. However, the book put emphasis on those who particular religion, that religion should have had a conviction that caused them to aspire to follow a particular path in life.
Mhm. That's very interesting that you said it like that. I've never heard someone break that down. That was very deep. That was very deep. Now I want you to go into a little bit about your book. Um, Talk about the book. Talk about what it's all about for all the people.
It's this a love story, and in love affairs, generally there are different aspects of life that the male would engage in and the female. And sometimes they run kind of concurrent and sometimes they go their separate ways. However, my belief that if it is true love, they somehow will find a way to get back to each other, even if they've gone through other lips. In the heart, they'll recognize that that person was the one that I truly love. So that's how the book is couched, where two people at an early age found favor in each other, and as they grew, and then because of their youth, they allow certain circumstances to cause them to separate, sometimes based on, in this case, based on their lack of maturity and their selfishness that they gravitate to other things, but always in their heart, they still retain that desire for the other person.
Got you, got you. Now let's go into the book a little bit deeper. Because you got some pop. The title is very powerful. I am a convict. I surrender all to the Creator. I assume that is this. First of all, is this about your story or is this a fictional story?
Well, it's a combination of both. To be more specific, um, the latter part of that title is I surrender all to the Creator.
Hmm.
So therefore, the essence is whether it was from a family structure or from a actual love story of the female, the man still holds true that he is going to surrender all to the Creator, even above. It would kind of be like the story of Job in a sense that, uh, as most people know the story, he had a lot of wealth and power and nice family life. However, he did put none of that above his relationship with the Creator. So even if his wife tried to convince him to just let it go, he was more satisfied with knowing that he was going to give his life for the one who gave him life.
Wow, that is definitely deep. That is definitely deep. In the book, do you I know you said it's a love story. Do you go into the point of, the direction of the man and how, he had to overcome all of these things, as well as what led him to the place where he got to begin with? Talk about that a little bit. How he, at how he got to his lowest point and how he, overcame to stay with his true love.
Right. In the book, it talks about how they found favor in each other in the school setting. In fact, it indicates that she taught him a lot of things about history and about life. However, she was taught at an early age to find someone who was of a particular physical physique, such as light skinned, good hair, and someone who is very educated. And as the story goes, this guy dropped out of school in 11th grade. And that was a big barrier in their relationship because she was taught that the man that she marries should be very well educated. However, the man had a lot of smart. So oftentimes you'll find some people who are book smart, but they're not street smart. But he ended up with the balance of both. But at that time, they went their separate ways because of what her desires were and what her upbringing was. And then the man, he had acquired a business and he was making a lot of money, and someone kind of uh, stole his money. And as a could mean more problems. And so he stood up on his manhood and he was convicted
Hmm.
by the system. However, he wanted to go really because he had a desire, and not only a desire, but a conviction that he needed to go and teach those who were in prison. And he felt as though since God has blessed him with a lot of knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, and on the outside, many young guys didn't want it. He said, "Well, send me there. Perhaps someone will want it." And while in, he did convert, if you will. a lot of the guys and let them know that since you are called convicts, you should have a strong conviction to overcome what society say you are or what you had tried to do for society and give your total conviction to the one who made you. So he would really evangelize the prison.
You know, go into that a little bit because that's the first time I've ever heard of that. And I like how you broke that down, a convict and conviction. That's very powerful. Talk about that a little bit.
Okay, you have two terms. Some people are actual criminals.
Hmm.
And if you look at the word criminal, that is wrong. As opposed to conviction, that is more in line with what one should do. In the book, we give an example of some who, from the Bible, who were convicted. Example, the Hebrew children. All they had to do for the king was just break dance or bow down when they heard the music.
Right.
But they told the king that we've been very humbled in most situations, but in this situation, that you are asking us to put something before God, our even if it means going to the fiery furnace. We believe that if we go, God will go with us. And Daniel, the same situation where he was told, you can't pray to anybody other than the king. You can't make that type of petition. And Daniel opened up his curtain and said, listen, do what you got to do. I will not stop serving my creator because I'm convicted to do that. And so we give several instances of people, even without telling me, but like Joseph, when Potiphar left him with his wife, and she told him, "Say, listen, we can do what we want to. The king is gone." He said, "Yeah, but I don't have fear of your husband, the king. I have fear of the king of creation." And so he said, "I will not do that." And so that is what I mean by the convictions. And some people, if you don't want to be scriptural, you can look at people in modern times. Someone like a Dr. King, who said, like anybody, I would like to live a long life. Longevity has its place, but I'm not concerned about that now. So he was convicted to do the work that was assigned to him, as well as someone like Nelson Mandela. Say, I'll go to jail for 27 years if it's necessary. I'm not going to bow. So there are some people that are convicted. We either will have convictions or we'll make concessions. Depends on how you feel about the ones whose mission you're on.
Wow. Well, I'm glad you did a love story type of book. I think we need a lot of variety of books, and especially love story. Um, Without giving too much of the details about the book, because we want people to go out and purchase it. And again, if you're just tuning in, we have my brother Greg Fielder. He is the author of the book, I Am a Convict, I Surrender All to the Creator. Talk about the surrendering all to the Creator part again a little bit more in depth. I know you talked about, the story or whatever the case may be, but it seems like the brother overcame a lot to be with the woman he loved. But the creator part, get into that a little bit about how important it was for the person in the book to surrender to the creator.
The reason it was so important to the person in the book is because he had a near death experience. During that period of time, he had prepared himself to go to the hereafter.
Okay.
But during that time, he asked the Creator to send him back to do a work. That is why his conviction was so strong. It really means that he realized that except for the grace of the Creator, he could have been gone, but he was given more time. And that's why he's fearless, because he realized that he had already averted death. And this time is nothing but borrowed time. And he knew that the one who gave him this life has the ability to give him a new life if he is using it for the Creator's service.
Yeah, that's powerful. That's powerful. Talk a little bit about your background as far as being a writer. What inspired you to write this book, and have you written any other books?
What it really inspired me was my mother, who dropped out of school in fifth grade, but was always striving to learn. And she was given a job at the school, elementary school, as a what they call a grandparent. But she would teach the children how to read, and she would teach them out of our schools now, like home economics. She would teach the children how to make biscuits, how to make cornbread, just how to cook different dishes, things that she was pretty proficient in.
Hmm.
And she went on to get her diploma at the age of 58. And that was a great inspiration for me. And what was your other question, please?
I think you pretty much answered it about the inspiration for writing the book. And also, have you written any other books, or is this your first one?
Uh, that's my first one, but it is intended to be a trilogy. It is
Okay.
intended for this one to talk about an adult male's uh, relationship in terms of the prison life, and then we're writing another from a that is really ready from a female perspective, and then we'll have one from a youth.
From a youth perspective, okay, that's
Well,
that would be
yeah,
powerful.
like young people, how they sometimes end up in prison, sometimes, many times through no fault of their own, um, from being victimized by society.
Okay. Now they can purchase the book through Amazon, I believe you said.
That is correct.
Amazon, and was there another place where they could get it?
Amazon and Amazon Kindle, and actually it's at Barnes and
Kindle.
Noble as well.
Amazon Kindle. And so please, if everybody's just tuning in or if you get it late and you're watching, please hit that like and that share button. Let's get this brother's book out to the people. We got to support our own brothers and sisters doing great work in the in the community. And one of the great ways to promote yourself and to promote positivity is through books. So we want to get that information out for our brother. I want to talk to you a little bit about some associations that you might be a part of. What is the CUTS, cuts? What's that all about?
At one time, I actually owned a barber. I've owned four barber colleges, about five barber shops, and I used to manufacture my own hair products.
Oh, wow.
But the yes, but the cuts, it's an acronym, and well, there's one part that we left out. The number one, I opened a school in 1991, and that one actually stands for the one creator. That's the significance of that one.
Okay.
And the cuts at that time, I was downtown on the square, and it was for number one cuts up on the square, and I just transferred it to uh, number one, really convicts united to serve.
Convicts United to Serve. I would have
Yes.
never guessed that, by the way. I wouldn't. That was like way. Even by talking to you about the convict thing, I would have never guessed that. That's very powerful. Convicts United to Serve. So, what are some of the things you are you doing anything with that right now? What are some of the
Yes.
things that you're doing for the community and everything?
Well, the book is being offered and requested in a lot of the prisons. It has a lot of history, and it has a lot, in my humble opinion, information for those who are incarcerated to seek the conviction of their hearts, and to see what talent they have been endowed with and what method do they are they inspired to utilize that talent for the one who created them.
Powerful, powerful. Um, Let me ask you a couple of questions. You are elder in the community. It seems like you've been through a lot, especially business wise. Now you've written a book. Let's talk about a couple of things that's going on in the community, and I want to be a little specific. Just get your opinions and maybe some advice. One of the things I want to talk about right now is the black on black crime. What do you think about that? How do you think we can go about changing it? I know you know about the Black Lives Matter movement, but we do still have a lot of, I would say, genocide in our communities. I think things like your book showing brothers that they can overcome is great, but how can we go and just hit into that? What's your perspective on that?
Well, my perspective on that is self-love. We have a lot of self-hatred, and a lot of it was not by accident, but by design. When it comes to the Black Lives Matter, that's good. However, if it were up to me, I would make it Black Love Matters. Once we learn to love one another, then our lives would be more significant. In fact, scripturally, it says that I have been transferred from death to life because I love the brethren. So just to live, love for your people, then you're just existing. But true life is when you can exercise that love, and not just in words, but in deeds. And I remember back during the 60s and during the time of the revolution, we would always refer to each other as brother or sister. What's happening, brother, sister? Now we've been reduced to calling each other, my dog. The words that are spoken, sometimes they penetrate the heart.
Yeah.
An example is if I have a disagree with my brother, I still recognize, hey, brother, we disagree. But when I think of him as a dog, then psychologically, it's easy to shoot him down. Because what do you do to a dog? But when you think of it as being your brother, you say, hey, that's my brother. We just disagree, and we'll deal with it later. So the terminology that we use and our intent, or we're using, makes a huge difference. Words have deep meanings, and sometimes we say them consciously and sometimes unconsciously. But to be conscious is a different thing, because the thing that enslaved people most of all and keep them in darkness is a lack of knowledge. And I
Mm-hmm.
believe that the Creator made um, different beings in different ways. For example, the angels were created out of light. So when someone has an idea, some knowledge comes in, they say, "Oh yeah, I see what you're saying." Now the light comes on, and then you have people with a fiery nature who are really doing work for we call them the Satan, the devil, and that quick fiery nature, that negative forces cause that to come up out of a
Mm-hmm.
person. But a true man was, and when I say man, I'm talking about mankind, was made from the earth like the clay, which is impressionable. You can form it to be one thing or you can form it to be another, and it gives itself to whatever environment that is placed in. So the black on black crime has been highlighted But from a historical point of view, if I was truly addressing that, I would address it as, yeah, there is black on black crime, but that is done to highlight. Look at the white on white crime. The revolution. There were more people killed during the revolution. Whites killing whites, even though they were killing whites so that some of them so that they could preserve the right to have slaves. But whites kill whites as well.
Hmm.
So certainly there needs to be a remedy for that. However, I don't let the larger community uh, dissuade me from working with my people because there's black on crime. Again, it's instigated from outsiders. The larger community, they come in our community, sell us alcohol, and then they put it out. Well, all of them are drunks. The kind of people that break your leg and ridicule you for being a crippling. So we have to recognize that we have to have black love for one another. And lastly, on that note, when people go and we address this in the book, incentive for police to kill our people. Because what we do, if they kill somebody in a particular town, people will go there in droves and they'll spend money in that town, at hotels, restaurants, and other enterprises that do not belong to us. So there's an incentive. If a town is not doing well, they kill somebody because we're going to go there, spend our time marching and telling them that, hey, you're doing something that they already know they're doing.
Facts,
They're very
facts.
well with it. And we just sit back and say, well, yeah, they don't know what they're doing. They don't only know what they're doing, they become experts at doing what they are doing. But the problem is we have not had the love to say, okay, in this particular town where you kill one of our people, we're not spending any money in that town. I don't care if we have to go to his brother in the next county over, but we're not going to build up the town for which you kill our brother or sister.
Right, right.
But we go there for them to kill another one of our people. But I'll leave that right there.
No, that was powerful, my brother. That was powerful. Writing a book is your first book, man. I've been writing a book for like 2 years. I haven't finished it yet. Give some advice to some young brothers and sisters that are thinking about writing a book, trying to write a book. Give them some advice and some encouragement. Give them hook some people up like me that's a little afraid to get out there with it.
Okay, I would suggest that one would get just pen and pad, go to a isolated place where you can have time to think, and don't really think about writing a book per se. Think about maybe 10 or 12 things that are very important to you, that you're very knowledgeable about, and just jot down those things. Once you get your subject matter, then the time will present itself. You say, I'm thinking about something that happened in school. And I'm going to jot some things down. Or I'm thinking about, a relationship. I'm going to write something down that I know about that has affected me, positive or adversely. But the main thing about anything is getting started. You can't finish until you start.
That's true. That's true. And I started, and I just need to go ahead and finish. But a lot of people are scared to even start. They think about it. They want to do it. So that was just great advice. Go ahead and just do it. You can get
Well,
help
I
along the
tell
way.
people, yeah,
Go ahead.
everybody has a story to tell. Everybody has a story to tell. Um, Again, if you just think about things that are important to you, then you make the subject matter, and then at the appropriate time, you know, you start, and you may jump from chapter to chapter, and then you kind of make it a correlation how one ties into the other. What's important to you, and I'm sure everybody has something that's important to them, whether it be their relatives, children, parents, uh, mishaps in life, things they have overcome, because everyone has overcome something. When they think how bad their life may be, no matter how bad it was, it didn't prevent you from getting here. So everybody has a subject to talk about, something to talk about.
Now, before I let you go, I still
And
want. I'm sorry to cut you off. Before I let you go, I still wanted to get a couple more views because now that you got your book, we're going to promote your book. You know, people are going to look at you for answers. You're an author now. So I want to ask you a little bit. How do you feel about what's going on with this police brutality and everything? There's a lot going on. Um, I often, my son's away from home right now in college. I'm always nervous when he goes out or trying to figure out what's going on with them. Talk a little bit about what's your views on what's going on right now with that?
Well, what's going on? First of all, I like to go to the root of whatever the subject matter is. So the subject, if it is police, then I would go and find out who are the police and why do they exist. And in my research, I found out when before slavery ended, after slavery ended, the people that we now call police were actually called slave catchers.
Hmm.
That's how they began their career as police. They were slave catchers. And so that mentality is still there. And again, the police is a very minute part of the military. They are trained like clothing, and the military is designed to do basically one thing. It is to destroy their enemies or
Hmm.
perceived enemies. And as Black people grow, they are sometimes viewed as an enemy, whether it be taking someone's job, moving into someone else's community, doing for self, just as they did in Tulsa, Oklahoma. The people were self-sufficient and said, with us. We need to go and tear that city down. And it's a lot to that. But police are basically of a mentality to keep the Black man and woman in their place.
That's
So when
fact.
people say the police that is not working, are different. It is working exactly as it was intended.
Hmm. Yeah, I want you to elaborate on that a little, and I want to say something because I think you're right. I think a lot of times people think that the system is supposed to be equal, and in fact, the system was not meant to be equal for Black people. It was meant to keep us down, and it was built. When they did the Constitution and everything, it wasn't meant for Black people. So we got to really change the system a little bit. Talk about that a little bit.
Okay, well, I, I don't. I'm not a proponent of trying to change the system. I am for us changing ourselves. This system, based on how it is, for example, you mentioned the Constitution. When the Constitution states that we hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, that among them are life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. That was not intended for us. That was the rich white males. It was not for women, and it wasn't for poor whites. So, what must be done if they wanted things to be more on par? They would say, listen, we're all here. We took this land from the indigenous people. We went back and got another group of people, and others came. So, we need to sit down, someone from every group, and let's do the Constitution. Well, what they have done is like baking a cake that called for baking powder to make the cake rise. They baked it, left baking powder out, and then there are complaints because it didn't rise. They say, okay, we'll just sprinkle some on top of it and call it a cake. So the
Hmm.
cake has to be remade. And in fact, I'll go a little bit further to let black people know that you're really not citizens of this country. And some would argue that point, but if you were a citizen, why is it so necessary for you to have a Voters' Right Act? Nobody else have to have voting right act because they do it and it expires at a certain period of time and it has to be renewed. Slavery was never abolished in this country. Never was it abolished. It America just set a standard on how you should deal with slaves. So if someone has been incarcerated, if you read the 13th Amendment, which a lot of people refer to, it says slavery shall be abolished except in certain cases. But that's my overview on that.
No, that was powerful. That was powerful. I wanted you to just get back to the book again. I know it's your first book, and I'm so proud of you. I gotta clap the hands to that because you put yourself out there and you're telling a story, and that's very important. I think a lot of people don't understand how hard it is to actually write a book, to actually go through all of that to get it out there. So of course we want to give you applause, Mr. Fielder, um, and let you know that we appreciate you for sure. And just closing out, just talk about how they can get your book, where they can get it again, and so we can make sure we put that out there to everybody.
Okay, well, first of all, brother, I want to thank you sincerely because sometimes people just take for granted, well, he got one, so what? And so I really do, and I can feel your congratulatory feeling about it. So I thank you for that. Now, the book, it it deals a little bit, like I say, with history, um, but it's like I say, it's couched in a love story. And in fact, when they separate, the lady she goes to Africa, but even there, they would she the man was still on her heart, and he actually does go to prison. There, she was still on his heart. So overall, it's one that can be found at the Amazon and the Amazon Kindle and Book Barnes and Noble. Um, I guess I'm a little bit reluctant to, breaking my arm, pat myself on the back, but it has a lot of contents in there from a variety. Uh, I hope I answered your question.
Oh yes, without a doubt, you definitely answered the question. And like I say, I appreciate you again. I want to thank you for coming on the platform and giving us this powerful book. I know it's a lot, and it could be a lot stressful when you do stuff like that. So again, we want to give you applause and just thank you for coming on to the platform and closing out. Anything you want to give to people? Just any words of advice about making it through hard times? And this 2020 has been crazy. And again, before I let you close out, I just want to let everybody know they can reach you on Facebook at Greg Fielder. We got everything in the links below. Also Instagram, that's Greg Fielder underscore C.U.T.S. That's Greg Fielder underscore C period U period T period S. And that, I assume that's for cuts, convicts. And what was that again? Did you break
That's
that
correct.
down? The
It's an
cuts?
acronym for cuts.
And break that down again, what that stands for? Because that was powerful.
Yeah. First of all, the number one stands for the one creator of us all. And
Okay.
then the cuts is convicts united to serve.
Convicts United to Serve. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Well, just give the people a little words of advice before you close out, Brother Phil. And again, I want to thank you. Just give them some any words of advice you want to tell them through these hard times about making it through.
Okay. Okay, Brother Everett. First of all, I want to encourage them to continue to listen to you. You've been
Thank you.
very gracious, and I really, really do appreciate you for having me. We'll have a podcast that will be starting next Saturday, September 26th.
Okay.
Uh, I intend to address the what I call the four principles of life everyone must participate in. They are religion, business, politics, and education, not necessarily in that order, but everyone must participate in them, whether they on the positive side or the negative side, but they must utilize those four disciplines of life. Um, and that's pretty much it. Again, on to people checking themselves and just seeing what talents the creator have instilled in them, uh, recognizing that everyone has a contribution to make. And if we did not have a contribution, the creator would perhaps take us away. And if we don't contribute, we just like a tree that's not bearing fruit, that's fit just to be cut down if it doesn't have a purpose. So find out what your purpose is. And one of the other things you do is find somebody who is like-minded and like-spirited and grow to the glory of the one who created us all.
I say, I say. Well, I want to thank you again, my brother. You definitely blessed the Real Truth and Power podcast. And what's the name of your podcast going to be? You got a name for it?
Number one cuts.
Number one cuts. Just like that. That's what I'm talking about. All right, my
Yes,
brother.
sir.
Again, we're in a wonderful interview with our brother Greg Fielder. And again, people, the name of the book, I Am a Convict. I Surrender All to the Creator. So that's a powerful title and it's a powerful book. And we want to promote our brother and get us book out there. So please, depending on if you're watching live or when you get the catch it on YouTube or what have you, please share this information. We're all about promoting our black brothers and sisters and our entrepreneurs. So please share this information. And I want to thank you again, Brother Greg Fielder, for blessing us. Have a great day.
All right, thank you. Peace, Brother Everett.
Peace and blessings. Peace and blessings. That was our brother, Brother Greg Fielder, and we were blessed to have him on the show today. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. And again, we are out of here. Stay tuned. We took a little time off to get some rest, but we got some powerful shows coming up as usual. So just stay tuned and stay with us. It's going to be. We're going to have some great shows coming up. And so I'm gonna keep it all quiet. But again, as usual, we're gonna be having some shows and even some more prizes. If you missed our show with Henrietta Lack's grandson, Ron Lack, you definitely got to check that out. We gave away a total of $300. So we're gonna do something like that again. So please hit that like and subscribe button. Um, make sure you get the alerts because we might do it in the beginning of the show. We might do it in the end. We might do it in the middle. We're going to mix it up and we're going to change the format a little bit for the show. So I think you guys will like it. And we got some up and coming shows coming up. So I just want to reinforce that. And again, another great show. That brother dropped some knowledge. And again, check out his book. You can get it on Amazon, Kindle. I think he said on Barnes and Nobles as well. And that is, I Am a Convict. I Surrender All to the Creator. So, peace and blessings, family. Thank you for tuning in again. Please share if you're getting this late. And we out of here. Hold tight.
Real truth and power, health, wealth, knowledge of self, uplifting the community. Let's talk about it. community. Let's talk about it. Real truth and power. Health. Wealth. Knowledge of self. Uplifting the community. Let's talk about it.
Hotep.